All right. Hey, everybody. Shane here, Daily-Astrocat.com, and you're here for the Wolf Moon. Oh. That's the full moon. That's what the full moon is called, the first full lunation. It's the first lunation of the year, and it's going to happen on the 13th. This is my astrological take for the week of January 12th to January 19th. Look, it's going to be the full moon. It's going to be on Monday, okay? Now, it's going to be the full moon in Cancer. It coincides with that occultation of Mars, and that occultation is going to begin about 8:44 p.m. on the East Coast, and it's going to end around 1:52. So the moon will pass in front of Mars. If you look at it on the day this is being recorded, on the 12th, you will see that Mars is probably about, a little bit of ways away from it, right? The moon is getting closer to Mars, that's for sure. Mars features heavily this week. Mars will be at its closest point in its orbit also on the 13th. It's between the 12th and 13th, actually. It's about 63 million miles away, which, give or take. In 2003, however, Mars was only about 36 million miles away. I think that we launched a mission there, if I'm not mistaken. One of those other missions was planned to get there about that time or something. It's not a straight shot, that's for sure. Okay? And the next time Mars is going to be this close to Earth will be right around 2035, all right? So, let's talk about Mars trine Neptune. Oh, if you've been a longtime listener of what I do and what we do here, you will know that Neptune is primarily female. It's a female energy. Now, I know Poseidon's a sea god and supposed to be the brother of Zeus and stuff like that. On this chart here that I've got here in front of me, that we've got Neptune in Pisces up here, and we have Mars down here. Now, what's going on? Well, they're trine, right? Now, what else is approaching Neptune? We've got Saturn and Venus. So this is telling us that these planets here are going to be moving along as Mars is going backwards through Cancer, and they're going to be making some nice combinations. So we've been telling you to take your time and bide your time because Mars in Cancer is doing its thing, right? From my own personal standpoint, I did a lot of rethinking and reconstructing of Astrocat, just reconsidering how I wanted to dedicate myself to it and make it part of my part of your everyday and my everyday, just to make it better and make it more interesting and make it less esoteric, I guess is the right word for it, or less quirky or less Shane-like. All right. Now we can see that both Mars and Neptune are at 27 degrees of their respective signs. So 27 degrees of Cancer and 27 degrees of Pisces. We know that Neptune, when she's moving forward, she's going to be going into Aries at some point later on, along with Saturn, along with Venus, along with everybody, right? The sun's going to come along, take everybody in. Pluto's going to lag back there. Mercury's going to be coming along, though, right? So what do we have going on here, guys? What's happening? Well, let's see. In that picture, I have Mars as the frozen flame and the female Neptune. Why is it a frozen flame, and why is Neptune female? Well, Neptune, look, there are genders assigned to the signs, and these are called polarities, and they're used to describe how the energy of the sign is expressed. They're either masculine or feminine, right? Your masculine polarities tend to be air and fire signs, and your feminine polarities tend to be earth and water signs. That's what they are. Now, the feminine energy is indirect, receptive, and introverted. The masculine energy is, generally speaking, more assertive, extroverted, and direct. It's a yin and yang kind of thing, right? The yin energy, the masculine energy, yeah, that's the forward. The receptive and introspective and inverted and introverted and intuitive, that is the yang aspect, right? So now, since the ancient planets represent two signs, they display this dual polarity in their expressions as well. So Mars doesn't get any more masculine than the male symbol hanging off the chest, right? Hey, baby, what are you doing? No, not at all. Austin Powers, sit down. Sit down. Behave, okay? That's what you really need to do. Behave. Because there's also a femininity that Mars expresses in Scorpio. Now, same thing with Venus, same thing with Mercury, same thing with Saturn, same thing with Jupiter, because they were the known planets. The only two planets that don't have that kind of polarity are the sun and the moon, and those two were actually to be the polarity of each other. So in other words, the moon is the feminine aspect of the sun, and the sun is the masculine aspect of the moon. And that's why their two signs, Cancer and Leo, are grouped together in the zodiac. as far as what this is doing for us with Mars as a frozen flame and Neptune as a female, there's going to be a fluidity in the ultimate expression of polarity, right? Polarity isn't about men and women. It's about how that energy is expressed as either a masculine energy or a feminine energy. Now, what this means is that with Mars and Neptune being trine, this is a very creative period. Your germinating ideas, they're numerous. And the relationship between Mars and Neptune is enough to fuel we got water power, right? Neptune in Pisces, Mars in Cancer, right? That fueled an industrial revolution. Those mills and stuff like that, water power. The technology of the future, well, are they an extension of water power? Maybe. Hydrogen's extracted from water, right? So if we have Toyota and Japanese companies developing internal combustion engines that run on alternative fuels such as hydrogen that's extracted from water, then that's a different form of water power, right? Think about it. Rockets, they're fueled by recombining hydrogen and oxygen, right? It produces a lot of energy when those are recombined. That's where it comes from, right? Water power. So now that we got water power out of the way and we realize what the dynamic is between Neptune and Mars and how there's just this give and take, and it's a very, very, there's a seductive energy here, right? We've got Mars in Cancer, and everybody says, oh, Mars doesn't like Cancer. Mars is just fine in Cancer as long as he's got Neptune taking care of him, right? He's fine in Cancer as long as he knows Venus will be joining up with him. Mars is all about attracting that kind of attention from the opposite sex, okay? From the females, from Venus. In my stories before, Mars and Venus were always the item. This puts Mars very much at ease in Cancer, though, because that kind of energy is kind of restorative, and it can restore whatever's necessary. And you have to think of it that way, because what's happening is with this Mars approach close to us, with Mars being in Cancer, we're actually able to restore what exists in everybody of that essential male, right? That sacred male. We talk about the sacred female all the time. We talk about the goddess all the time. And that's in all of us as well. But there's also a male component of that's in us that really needs healed, really needs nurtured, really needs taken care of. And this understanding Neptune and Pisces can really do that. Now, we don't want to get lost in some of the illusions and delusions that Pisces can bring forward, and that Neptune can weave. As long as we have Neptune behaving, which we have Neptune in the same sign conjunction as Saturn, so we've got a pretty good thing going on here. We also have her in there with Venus as well. And if you think about it, Neptune is considered the higher vibration of Venus, right? So Venus and Neptune kind of, they're an octave apart, all right? So let's just move right along here. So let's talk about living the lunar life, because I've been mentioning this for the last couple of weeks, and there's a very interesting thing here with that occultation, okay? The wolf moon is going to swallow Mars, okay? What happens when the moon swallows Mars? What's going to happen to some of Mars' power, right? Well, Mars is resting and relaxing, so he will gladly give some of that power over to the moon. Remember, easy, right? Mars is the easy button. That's the easy guy, right? He's got Neptune. He's got the moon. He's loving life right now, right? That is going to be given over to the moon. The moon's going to be able to take that energy forward and test it as she goes through the sign again and again as she meets up with Mars. Remember, Mars is going to become our leading planet. It's already starting to be, right? Once Mars goes direct, it will undoubtedly be our leading planet till the Sun and Venus and Mercury all catch up with them. Mars is going to be trying to correct and redo some of the things that we did the first time through, right? When it entered the shadow period, when Mars was in Cancer the first time. All right? We're going to be gearing up towards a second go at the Scorpio opposition. And this time we're going to have some serious power, because we're going to add some air to some fire, okay? That air and fire is just going to make it burst. It's gonna get very powerful, and it's gonna be very, very exciting because Mars is gonna come out with a clear idea of what has to be done. Pluto is gonna take a long time. Pluto is just like, yeah, I'm gonna change some stuff around, and it's gonna be good. Now, Pluto being an Aquarius isn't quite as malefic, as, if we want to use that word, as Pluto was in Capricorn. And it's not so much about concentrating power in the hands of the powerful or the institutions, or strengthening the institutions, right? Now we're going to take those institutions apart and we're going to return that power. Look at what the moon's doing and think about and listen carefully to the signals that you're going to be getting, or you're going to, others are going to be emitting signals to you all week long. Your projects will benefit from the moon's actions. You just have to make sure you're listening. And while you're listening, please take the time to like this video and subscribe, okay? This is the embodiment of a high tide dream I had a couple of weeks ago. Let's go swimming together, okay? Make my tide rise, okay? Let's go. Let's talk about the full wolf moon. Okay. Now, the full wolf moon is going to take place, and it's going to be full at 1727, which is basically 5:27 in the evening here on the East Coast. All right, and if you think about it, probably, a couple of hours later, we're going to start that occultation with Mars. So that you can see where the moon is just a couple of degrees away from Mars, and as she moves quite quickly. She will start to cover Mars up. And the reason why that works like that is because they're at the same spot on the ecliptic, that the angle, that 23-degree angle where all the planets form that disk, that solar disk. When it formed all the planets all in a line, right? Planets that aren't on that line, the centaurs and stuff like that, they're mostly from outside of the solar system that got caught in the sun's gravity, and they have a different orbit that's different from the planets after they formed from the giant dust ball that congealed and made our sun and formed the other planets. So, with that being said, we've got the moon opposite the sun. That's what a full moon is. Wolf moon. Okay, so the wolf moon. Let's go. This is the first full moon of the new year, right? The new calendar year. That's what we got. Now, if you notice, I've got a crossing figure here too. We've got dark moon Lilith, which is one of those points orbiting around right at this point. It's like the furthest, I believe it's technically the furthest point where the moon orbits. So it's like follows it. And that also moves as well. That moves quite a bit. And we have Chiron up there. So Chiron and dark moon Lilith, what do we want? What are we desiring? They're at odds with each other, right? Or are they? Think about that. Because if we're desiring independence, we're desiring freedom, and we're desiring to be breaking away, we got to take care of other people. We got to take care of ourselves. We got to take care of how we're going about addressing the things that people need in order to be given what it is that we desire. And what are we desiring in Libra? Well, we're desiring a lot of things. We're desiring justice. We're desiring harmony. We're desiring peace, tranquility, all that stuff, right? We need that, but we didn't get it. And that's what's really tough, because there's stuff out there that's just pulling away. And the things that Pluto had wrought back in Capricorn that are just caught, they're entrenched, right? We have to be able to move this forward. We have to be able to get out of this. Now, with the sun being caught in Capricorn, we're still seeing this play out. This is still playing out. That sun has to exit and then join up with Pluto until we can see, okay, now we can see clearly this is what we're doing. But we have the sun and Mars opposite to each other. And what does this tell me? This tells me that we're waiting. We are waiting. We're playing Saturn's game. All right? We have to do the work. We're going to have to wait for that sun to get to Pluto before we know what to do, before we know what the state of things are, right? Either how good it is or how bad it is. We won't even know until the sun gets to that Pluto point. Okay? So that's one thing I'm looking at. There's a tension here, and it's very palpable. Got the sun in Cancer conjunct Mars, and it's opposing the sun in Capricorn. Mars hates going backwards almost as much as he hates being restrained. Okay? But Neptune's power with Saturn and Venus and Pisces is seductive and sultry. Mars can have a much larger impact if he waits until he is in Leo. That's the message, right? The sun and moon are at a culmination point. Mars needs to learn the lesson of the last transit of Cancer. Okay? That is the lesson Mars needs to learn. That is what Mars is going to get out of this whole thing. The process before, it was too murky. We have to clean up our processes or our processes and move them forward. The next aspect we want to talk about is the Sun trine Uranus. This is going to happen on the 13th. Now, this is going to be very interesting because this is a different kind of energy, okay? This is something that's going to take that Capricorn energy and Taurus energy. That's some pretty, that's Taurus, right? Stubborn. And that's Capricorn, focused, disciplined, very, very, just Spartan. It's just like, okay, what are we going to do? What do we want to do here? And as you can see, this is about 3:13 in the morning on the 13th. So what is it we're really looking at here? I'm going to suggest that you do some grounding exercises because there's some crazy energy here. We've seen a lot of market volatility, and this is due to Uranus being in Taurus, right? We've seen the rise of cryptocurrency. We've seen falls in cryptocurrency. We've seen Wall Street going up and down. And look, the possibility of doing something surprising, there's a possibility here that you can do something surprising that you haven't considered doing before. It's going to be a rational decision based on fact, future savings, or your current needs, okay? So in other words, maybe you got to upgrade something. Maybe there's something you need to do. I know that we're doing a furnace and that's not a choice, okay? But what I am looking at, what I do have a choice with, is I'm looking at possibly a refrigerator, okay? I think it's going to save us a lot in the long run. And I think that by taking the plunge for it now may very well be a good decision. This isn't here to bolster my decision. It's here to help you make decisions for you, okay? I'm just telling you how I'm experiencing this kind of energy and what will be going on as I'm approaching this point. This is not about creativity, okay? This only affects your creativity indirectly. Now, this is more of a lifestyle change. If you've got something that you got to do extra work for and you take that work out of the equation, you have more time. That's an upgrade. That's a lifestyle upgrade, okay? Conversely, our inspiration and imagination is set free by reimagining our financial situation. Oh, how does that work? We've got the sun, which is us, in Capricorn, thinking very practical thoughts, acting practically, right? Thinking about things in Taurus that we can do that might just shake things up a little bit and reshuffle and redo some financing, or maybe find a different way, budgeting or something like that. In order to take these plunges, in order to look at it this way, this requires an almost blind faith in the universe to provide exactly what we need when we need it. Now, I happen to find it. The universe tends to work that way. The only question I have for you is, do you think the universe works that way? Do you find that the universe works that way, that we get what we need and probably not an iota more? Maybe. All right, now we've got the Sun-Mars opposition. This is going to happen on the 14th. Now, what do we got for the 14th going on? Well, we've got the Sun opposing Mars. We already talked about that a little bit. We talked about what that energy looks like, how it's there now. There's something very interesting that I did want to point out about this, though, because, there's something going on, and you have to understand that Mars and the Sun, Mars is in Cancer and the Sun is in Capricorn, right? They're opposing. So not only are those signs directly opposite each other, but you know how opposites attract, right? They attract. Mars happens to be exalted when he's in the sign of Capricorn. Mars does his best. He's focused. He's goal-driven. He keeps his stuff from flying all over the place, right? What's the biggest downfall of Aries? Not being able to focus, right? Just keep on going. Got to start. Almost, I don't want to say never finish, but finishing, that's an issue, right? That's something that they got to work on. So don't let the sun throw you off. These things, they need to wait. Our natural instinct is to move right now, right? We want to do that. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to shorten your season. Don't make winter shorter. Savor it. Write your winter songs, okay? Maybe you need to finish a great unfinished work. This is a reminder that we all need to let dust settle before we venture forth. Get all of your ducks in a row. We got to do that. We got to get our ducks in a row. Mars in Cancer can see the passive power that Cancer and Capricorn can summon forth. All right, Capricorn, Earth sign, female. Passive. However, cardinal, both are initiators, okay? They may be feminine signs, but they get stuff done, all right? And they'll get stuff done you don't even realize because they've got that kind of power going for them, right? Both are initiators and both are cardinal signs. Plans made now will be best expressed when the sun is in Aries. So aim for what will make your creative life more fulfilling. And now here we have Venus square Jupiter. What in the world is this stuff here, Shane? Look at me in magic, right? We've got mystic rectangle here in this position. We've got Venus and Saturn right here, and they are almost conjunct, right? But we have Neptune, Mars, the moon, and the sun all making that mystic rectangle, all just working with energies that are like working together. So when you look at Jupiter and Venus, it's like, hey, this is a great time to be reminiscing. I got some great ideas for you. Let's go out and do this. Let's have a fun day, okay? Because they're both benefics. I mean, what could they possibly be? Oh, my ideas are too busy for you. I can't do anything like that. No, it'll be great. We're going to have a lovely time. Let's go out for drinks. Okay, let's do that. Right? Sure. Why not? That's not what's going to happen, though. I mean, that's what's happening on the surface, right? But Venus conjunct with Saturn, square to Jupiter. Okay? The tension between Jupiter and Saturn, that comes down just a little bit, okay? You may have been feeling pressure that's been of a technical or a mechanical, all right? This kind of gets it off our back, and it's like a sigh of relief. It's just like, hey, you know what? This stuff's taken care of. Why don't you just let up? We're going to all move on. We're going to move along, and we're going to be getting along just fine. So don't worry about it. Now, for you folks out there that listen to us all the time, that listen to me all the time, my inner circle out there, there's something powerful afoot. If we are to find love, ideas, and intellectual stimulation, it will need to be in an area where we're ready to experience a leap of faith. The mystic rectangle in this chart sees our charged moon, okay? And the reflective and defensive Mars, persuasive and out there Neptune, and the entrenched sun, right? All of that stuff is all working together. Think about the moon being charged with Mars, just going like, let's go, okay? Sounding out all the different theories and everything like that. Mars just being like, okay, I'm holding my own. I don't want to venture forth yet. We're just going to build this up. We're going to build up the home front, right? We're going to conserve our resources. We got a persuasive and out there Neptune. Neptune's just like, okay, yes, okay, let's do this. It's going to be really great and dreamy. And the entrenched sun. The sun is just like, yeah, we're going to get through this. Now, this is all going to change when the sun enters Aquarius because we're going to start looking at innovations and inventions and stuff like that and really changes in society and how we are looking at society and how we want to interact as a member of society, okay? So today, on this day, you want to make sure you have a plan for late April when Mars leaves Cancer, okay? You might want to put a little bit of alchemy to work for you. Produce a token or a fetish, make a little charm. Do something with your hands, right? Imbue some of your own personal magic in it. Now, slowing it down, there's going to be a lining up in the sky of the planets, and they're going to be in an unbroken line, okay? Neptune and Uranus will be easy to spot with a telescope due to this, okay, because you'll be able to put their relative positions in there. But, we'll have Saturn, we'll have Venus, we'll have Jupiter, we'll have Mars. You'll be able to see those pretty much with your naked eye, and the moon. Now, down in the southern hemisphere, you may be able to even see a comet sometime after sunset. And also, don't forget about the Moon-Mars occultation, okay? So the planets line up on the 25th, basically, and we've got Moon-Mars on the 13th. So that's what you got going on in the sky. It's going to be kind of interesting, right? Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Make Daily-Astrocat.com part of your daily routine. I've got the podcast up on YouTube, or it's at the website at daily-astrocat.com, or wherever you get your podcasts, right? Apple Podcasts, Spotify, it's on all of those. Just 5-6 minutes, 10 minutes maybe, depends on how long I decide to go. But it's enjoyable. And I really appreciate everybody who listens to it. And just, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, do what you got to do, right? Subscribe. Make me happy, okay? Make me happy, I'll make you happy. Thank you so much. Appreciate each and every single one of you. Happy Astrocatting.